Smith, and then remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. We all stand.
Bow your heads. Almighty God, sovereign ruler of nations, we give thanks for the blessings of freedom that you have given us this day. We ask for your divine guidance and direction in the matters before us. We ask that you bless our decisions and that we act in accordance with your laws. May our decisions in this body glorify you and your authority forever and ever. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now recognize Brenda Potts for the presentation of the Employee of the Month.
Chairman Brown, members of the board, Mr. Franklin, Mr. Hall, it's my privilege to be standing up here to advise you that the Employee of the Month Selection Committee has selected Detective Sergeant Scott Blakely of the Lee County Sheriff's Department as Employee of the Month for August 2007. Sergeant Blakely joined the Sheriff's Department in March of 2001 and was promoted to Detective Sergeant in December 2006. In a short period of time that he's been a detective, Sergeant Blakely has established himself as an integral member of the detective division. Just 3 days after becoming a detective, Sergeant Blakely was assigned to investigate a home invasion that resulted in the beating of a man and his wife. With little to no suspect information and no physical evidence, the odds of solving the case were very low. However, Sergeant Blakely, with diligence and using his willingness to utilize the experience of his fellow detectives and to utilize the outside resources, it resulted in 4 arrests. As noted in his nomination, without his persistence, his dedication, his professionalism, and teamwork, 4 individuals would have escaped justice. Sergeant Blakely is recognized for his commitment to the safety and the well-being of the Lee County citizens. Sergeant Blakely lives with his wife and spends much of his free time coaching youth baseball. The committee felt that based on the recommendation and Sergeant Blakely's commitment, he should be awarded Employee of the Month. Therefore, the committee respectfully asks you join us in awarding Detective Sergeant Scott Blakely Employee of the Month for August 2007.
You have any comments, Scott?
I just want to thank everybody for the honor to be here and the privilege to be Employee of the Month. Thank you.
Why don't you come forward, please, sir? I want to present you with the Star Award, which you can use it or paperweight or whatever you choose to do so. Also, a certificate, Employee of the Month, August 2007, the Lee County government recognizes Scott Blakely for going above and beyond regular duties to be an outstanding employee. Signed by John Crumpton, the county manager, and by myself.
Thank you.
Also, I have some other things to give you here. First of all, a day off with pay. The chief here, so he's
You're gonna have to look at that now.
certificate for Papa John's Pizza. Also, one from the movie gallery and one from the Coca-Cola plant. And I would like to recognize Scott's mother and father who are here today. Would you mind standing, please? Right, and now come to the introduction of new employees. We do have about 3, I think. First of all, from the health department.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Crumpton, Mr. Hoyle, it is with honor I introduce 2 of our newest nurses. And to my immediate right, I want to introduce Julie Goodman, and she's from Chatham County. She lives there, and she got her BSN from UNC Charlotte in 2004. She's traveled internationally, studied socialized medicine, be interesting, and she has experience in lung transplant and the ICU step-down unit at Duke Hospital and pediatrics in a private practice. She's our maternal care coordinator and immunization coordinator for the health department. And she was married last year, so she's still newlywed and no kids yet, but she has a Cocker Spaniel that's treated very well. And she likes to travel. She likes to cook and camp. So we're proud to have her. And if I could proceed with to my far right, Angela Koska. And Angela is a registered nurse, and she has been in the medical profession for over 10 years, including surgical nursing, urology, rheumatology, internal medicine. She resides in Harnett County and has done so her whole life. She does have 2 children, a daughter age 10 and a son age 6. And she's excited to be working with us, and she would like to eventually retire here one day. So she would be here for a while to serve as residents of Lee County. So we're proud to have both these young ladies.
And we're proud that you chose Lee County. We hope you do retire here. I think it's going to be a number of years. That you with the county pen.
At least a day or 2.
Thank you for choosing to work for Lee County. Glad to have I believe we have one from the jail.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Crumpton, Mr. Bull, I'd like to introduce to you our new employee from the jail, Michael Jordan. He's from Moore County. He is, it's he's a little shorter. Mr. Jordan has been a carpenter and a farmer most of his life. And after putting his faith in the good Lord and Mother Nature to make his living, he's now going to depend on Lee County for a while. So he's been at work now, I guess, about 3 weeks or thereabouts, and he's doing a good job, and we hope he keeps up the good work.
Thank you. I always dreamed of that. County pen. Congratulations. Thank you.
It's all right.
I asked the commissioners if they have any additional agenda. I don't believe we have anything from the county manager. Mr. Reeves? Lamont?
No, sir.
Gavin?
No, sir.
Sure. That's, okay. Do you hear a motion that the agenda be approved as printed?
I so move.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. So ordered. Now accept a motion for the approval of the consent agenda.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Yeah.
On item D, and this is for Mr. Butler, this whole budget thing, is this the initiative that the sheriff had and the foreclosure of all these things after he came on board? Is that where this money's coming from?
To be honest with you, I do not know, but that was his, that was his intent to begin with. I apologize, this is actually a surprise to me, this one portion.
Well, this was, I talked to Sheriff Carter a while back, and you guys were involved in all this stuff, and to my knowledge, this hasn't been done before. So if that's the case, I definitely think this is newsworthy for the newspaper, because this is, as a taxpayer and a citizen, I appreciate all you're doing and taking all of the remedies available to get into the pockets of these drug dealers.
But to try to answer your question as best I can is that, as Mr. Crumpton could kind of help me out here, but had this money moved,
Let him hang.
had the money moved over into a different place so that we could utilize
I'm
it.
just excited it's here, and for the reason that it's here, that's my excitement.
And this is the first time the board has had to handle these funds, and they're restricted by use. He typically, the sheriff has to use them for either purchase of equipment or training. So as you can see, we've gone ahead and set up line items so he can spend the money as it comes in. So
So this is the first time the board has ever had this opportunity.
that is correct.
Awesome.
In history, this is the first time that this comes as a result of a drug unit being formed by the sheriff's department.
That's correct.
Previously, city. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I am sorry.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Who made that motion?
I offered the motion and I wanted to add, unless there's some objection, from our new business, the ordinance on criminal background check. Unless someone has some objections or questions or concerns.
Well, we talked about that previously, do I hear a motion that we move line item D from the new business over to the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I hear a second to that?
Second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Now the motion to approve the consent agenda made by Lamar.
That was with the amendment to Mr. Reeves's motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. So ordered. We have any public comments? I'll now open the public hearing, and I will recognize our attorney, Mr. Hall. This public hearing is on the need for ambulance services with Central Carolina Hospital, also granting of the franchise to Central Carolina Hospital, and 3 lease of county-owned property to Central Carolina Hospital. I believe we can only approve one of these today because the other 2, I think, have to come back to the board. Mr. Hall, you want to explain?
Yes, the one about the need for services, as the statute says, before you can give a franchise, you have to determine that there is a need for services. So it would be a finding in the adoption of that ordinance. If you find that there is a need for ambulance service, these 2 documents that are in your agenda are essentially the terms in which we have operated with this firm for the last 5 years. There were some minor changes about the insurance. They had switched from individual policies to a master policy. And we certainly didn't want to buy the book from them. they'll furnish certificates of the insurance coverage. So the changes have been very minor. There was a change in the term from 5 years to 7. But the basic pattern that we had before continues in effect. They operate the service if they ever should decide to abandon and get out of the emergency medical service. We have the opportunity to purchase their rolling stock and equipment. And of course, we own the building and they're leasing that from us.
All right, do I hear anyone else who would speak in favor of these agreements with Central Carolina Hospital?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, my name is Mike Sparrow. I'm the Quality Manager for EMS. I'm going to speak more to the extent of the need of EMS. In the last 10 years since the inception of CCALS, originally it was a county system taken over by the hospital in 1997, we've had a 27% call volume increase. Back in 1996, the annual call volume was 4,719. 2006, it was 6,010. That does not speak to the number of patients per se, because there might be multiple patients on the scene of those calls. We do expect that there'll be a further growth in this community as military bases close nationally, more people relocated to this area, just general population growth. So as that continues to grow, we are also expanding our service to grow with it. We've provided fire standbys, work very well with the fire department. We could do their Con Ed training for their first responders. We've expanded out a first responder program. We facilitated the emergency medical dispatch within this county. We've continued to do community CPR training as well as the Vital Life program within the county. So I believe there's a need. Does anybody have any questions?
Do you do the CPR through the hospital?
Typically, we do the training for the instructors through the hospital. The hospital runs programs, and then we actually have individual instructors that go out and train in the community. So I average about 100 people a year myself, plus we have probably about 8 instructors.
Is there a charge for that?
Depending on the circumstances, but that's left up to the individual instructors. Certain courses I'll do for free depending on the group.
You gave us call volumes. What are your dispatch volumes?
That's
Is that
not 100% of those are transported per se, but that is dispatch volume.
That is dispatch volume.
Yes, sir.
What was this, 6,000?
2010, 2006.
So that is when they go out.
Yes.
Okay.
On your fire standbys, roughly how many of those do you have?
We're probably averaging about maybe 4 a month. Anytime they get dispatched out to an active fire, we have a unit standby in the rehab area. Number one, for fire protection, for the firefighters themselves, of course, anybody that they might bring out.
Of course, the other day I rode out to, which was right near my house out there to McNeil Road, 104 plus degrees with that truck wreck and everything. They did a fantastic job out there then. But I was just curious about how many of those related calls that you participated in.
And I don't have the number in front of me, but I'm saying average about 4. So
Could you get me a breakdown, or any other commissioner that would want a copy of that? Say like the number of calls such as wrecks, cardiac, childbirth, gunshot wounds, whatever. If you could, okay. Good enough.
And that itemizes it, the breakdown number of calls are down on the right hand side. And it itemizes how many calls we've responded to. So difficulty breathing, it was, I believe it's 670 or somewhere thereabouts.
679.
Okay. Cardiac arrest, I believe we're 85. Car accidents were 494. So that gives a breakdown of the call per dispatch information.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mike.
And thank you for coming prepared.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else who wishes to speak in favor? There being none, is there anyone present who would like to speak in opposition to this arrangement with Central Carolina Hospital? Hearing none, I will declare the public hearing closed, and we'll accept a motion that we approve item 1, need for the ambulance service with Central Carolina Hospital.
Mr. Chairman, I need to withdraw my vote as my son is employed by the EMS.
Okay.
I move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So ordered. Note that 6 voted for and 1 abstained.
With respect to the ordinance, we was going to have to take it up again, but had it been unanimous, we would do it at one time. But being it's a franchise, there's no problem him withdrawing. We have to do a franchise at 2 different meetings. So the ordinance about the EMS service will be on your next agenda for final adoption at that time.
Okay, will he be eligible to vote for that?
You don't have to.
Well,
In other words, 2 majority votes will get it in
okay.
good standing. He could vote for the lease. I don't think that would bother anything.
All right, moving on to new business. I now recognize Dumas, who is going to give us secondary road construction program analysis and the North Carolina Department of Transportation. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Chuck Dumas. I'm the district engineer for Moore, Lee, and Hunt counties, and here to present the secondary road improvement program for Lee County for 2007-2008. Before I do that, I'd like to introduce the other members representing DOT that are with me. Mr. Gerald Kenley is our Board of Transportation member. Mr. Jeff Picklesheimer, Division Maintenance Engineer, and Mr. Johnny Ransdale, County Maintenance Engineer for Lee County. That said, we do have some extra copies of the program. If anybody would like one, we can pass one out. Okay. Would you like that? Down one more here. That being said, I'm going to start with the highway funds, which are in your packets. The proposed 2007-2008 allocation for the highway fund is $505,687. Funds needed to complete work in progress, $42,629.
Is that on our map?
Page 60.
It's-
Sorry, Chuck.
Oh, no. That's good, thank you. For a total available of $463,058. Moving to the program elements, paving of unpaved roads down the priority list, as right-of-way funds allow. We are not proposing to use any highway funds this year for unpaved roads. Element 2, retaining approximately 11% of available funds for road additions, property owner participation paving, volunteer fire departments, rescue squad drives, overruns, and surveys, a total of $53,058. Element 3, widen and strengthen pavement on SR 1403 Cotton Road, which was previously a North Carolina Moving Ahead project, which was an unfunded project, so we are trying to do that out of our secondary improvement program funds. It's SR 1403 Cotton Road. The length of the road is about 3.86 miles. We propose to widen it from 20 to 24 feet from SR 1444, which is Beech Tree Drive, to SR 1400, which is Cumnock Road. $410,000 represents partial funding with a total estimated cost of about $1.36 million. So as you can see, it'll probably take us about 3 years worth of funding to complete it. We propose to start with widening, do the widening when funds are available, and then when we receive additional funds, we would strengthen the pavement, which the strengthening was basically putting 2 layers of asphalt on it. And we'll probably, with the length of the road, we're gonna end up probably needing to break it up into 2 segments to do it over a period of 3 years. Probably try to go from Beech Tree up to about Iron Furnace Road first, and then from Iron Furnace Road to Cumnock Road next.
I believe that is the worst part of it, with the truck traffic in and out of there.
Yes, sir. I think you're right.
I was gonna say, that road's in pretty bad shape.
Yes, sir.
And it was brought to our attention 2 or 3 months ago. We appreciate you moving on.
Sure.
One quick question
Yes, sir.
on that. When, at one point in time, Cotton Road was on the list. How did one come off of a list, for whatever reason?
The list for
To have it,
improved. The lists were basically prioritized division-wide for North Carolina Moving Ahead funds, so there were 8 counties basically competing for those funds. And it was towards the bottom of the list as far as priority goes, take into consideration traffic counts and things of that nature. And the funds ran out before we got to it, basically, is what happened. So when we looked at our program this year, we proposed that we do it using the secondary improvement program instead of moving ahead funds, so that we could go ahead and felt like it was still a worthy project, something that we needed to get done, so we found another source.
I agree, and the calls that I've received and having someone travel over that road, pulling a trailer, break an axle on a trailer, I think it's time to do something to it.
Right. And if you run into that, give us a call. We got to keep it patched and maintained
Right.
until we can get to it. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. The next page is of the secondary improvement program of trust funds. The proposed 2007-2008 allocation was $327,286. Unallocated funds of $50,359, making a total available of $377,645 for improvements using trust funds. Moving to program elements under item 1, paving of unpaved roads down the priority list as right-of-way and funds allow. We propose to use approximately $330,000 for improving unpaved roads. The maps that you have, and actually the map that's posted on the wall there, follow along with the map numbers. It's number 2F on the rural list. It's SR 1311 Big Springs Road. This represents the remainder of the funding. We proposed this road in last year's program, but we're unable to fund it in its entirety. From SR 1303 to dead end, grade, drain, base, pave, and erosion control, $60,000. Number 3F rural was SR 1541 Daniels Creek Road from SR 1538 to the Chatham County line, 0.4 miles, and $0 associated with that because we were unable to get right of way on it. We've already tried to acquire right of way, and the property owners would not sign it. So we basically moved to the next road. Number 4F rural, SR 1308 Fraley Road from SR 1307 to dead end, 0.2 miles, $75,000. And map number 4, which is 5F rural, is SR 1238 Landfill Road. This represents partial funding from SR 1177 to dead end, 0.3 miles, $195,000. The total estimate for that road is $250,000. So the remainder of the funding will probably propose next year. Retain approximately 20% of available funds for property owner participation paving and overruns in the amount of $47,645. And that basically includes the presentation of the proposed secondary improvement program. We've also included a resolution, if it meets with your approval, ask that you adopt the resolution and forward it back to the district office and for approval by the board.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
The landfill road.
Yes, sir.
This board chose not to pave that road. Is that money available to be shifted to like Cotton Road?
That I guess that is a possibility. That would be a call that y'all would make as far as shifting the money around to another road. And I guess if you ended up with any questions about why that road didn't get paved, then that would be some of the backlash. Well, I'd actually refer to y'all if
No, I understand what you're saying.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Who determined these priorities? Was it the previous board or some other board, or how were these determined?
Every 4 years, we go out and count all the houses on the roads, get traffic counts and things of that nature. I think in your packets, you have a road rating sheet, and this was done in 2005 to establish the priority for the next 4 years. And so we try to do it as I guess, equally as possible. And basically from that, once those roads are rated, each road is rated, then a number is assigned to a priority, a point system number, and then the roads with the highest points fall out first. And that's basically how they're prioritized. And this would go from 2005 to 2009. So.
We do this every 4 years?
Yes, ma'am.
Change to that side.
Well, it can, and sometimes roads will move ahead of another road. If more development is done, that can happen. But we freeze, the top 10 roads are frozen. Once we get down to 2009, the 10 roads that are left, they're frozen in order so that another road doesn't jump ahead, so to speak. So that basically a road doesn't get down to being number one the next year and get knocked out. So.
And these are monies that are allocated to Lee County, and we don't have to compete with anybody else.
That's
and
correct.
They will be spent on these
That's correct.
roads.
Page 57 is that rating sheet. Any other questions? We appreciate it very much.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
And I would like to say that our appreciation goes out to Mr. Kindley for being here, also your engineer, Mr. Ramsdale. Thanks a lot for all that you do for us.
Thank you.
I'm gonna move to approve the resolution.
Been moved to approve the resolution. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. So ordered, unanimous vote.
I would also ask that at some point, perhaps our next meeting, we talk about landfill road. Moving that.
Now I recognize Chief Deputy Randall Butler.
Good afternoon. The Lee County Sheriff's Office is requesting the purchase of the new vehicle for our new CSI slot that we were granted through the last budget. I have some additional estimates during our research for the vehicle. One of them was state contract price, which is regulated with every state contract dealer. We also reached out to another dealership in Lillington, which they gave us an estimate that they could give one for that's not on state contract. And then we reached out to our local Ford dealership here with several attempts, we got no response from them. And I have these estimates.
It's capital for the state contract.
Yes, ma'am. And as you can see, when these come around, Capital Ford, the state contract deal.
I believe in the budget, we had 28,000, so you're only going to exceed it by $91.88.
Yes,
Correct?
Yes, sir, it did exceed.
So what you're here for today is just for us to prove the 91 bucks.
Both of the purchase of the vehicle and the $91.
You don't need that now, do you? Didn't I just hear something about some drug money? Spending money. So that's what you were here to tell me, you already found your money.
Maybe next year. But there was a difference of $1,752 between the two dealerships.
All right, any questions of,
Did you give any reason why the local dealership didn't participate?
No, we just made several phone calls, and they kept promising they'd fax us something over. We made another phone call, and they said, we're sorry, we're busy, and we made another phone call, and eventually we had to move on.
Well, make one more and tell them you buying it somewhere else.
It's hard for the local dealers to compete with the state contract. If you're buying new, it's a lot of them, it's a waste of time for them, so they don't spend the effort.
it would look good though to see a figure by their name.
Well,
Instead of not,
I mean,
no bid receipt.
I'd rather them tell us that than to try and eat breakfast on Saturday morning, somebody complaining why you didn't buy it locally.
Yes, sir, I agree.
It does make a big difference. You sit there and we try to do what we can locally. It comes back with nothing there. It's just like Mr. Reeves says, when you go out to eat or something, other people ask you, why didn't you buy these vehicles locally instead of going out of town? It'd be a hard pill to swallow
I
sometimes.
agree.
Motion approved.
Motion been made to approve. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. So ordered.
Then I'll
Unanimous
call it
vote.
back.
Thank you, sir.
Here's some more drug money.
There's some guidelines though of what they could use that for.
And I'm setting something for him right now. And our money back.
If he can go out and confiscate a brand new Ford, they would.
I don't wanna know how he gets it. I just wanna give our money back, that's all.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask Chief a question, reference the recent drug bust that was done? Understand that you did one and had, what was it, a kilo cocaine and a kilo of meth?
That's correct, but now that's unofficially. We did a field test on it, which leads us to believe that that's what it is, but we did send it off to the SBI to have it confirmed.
My question is, there was weaponry confiscated as well.
Yes, sir.
What is done with that, well, in your case, heavy artillery, AK-47, those AK-47s? Is that something that the sheriff's department could use? I do know in some cases they sit there and order those weapons destroyed, but is that something that the sheriff's department could use, that they could, possibly, go through the court system and have them awarded to the court, from the courts to the sheriff's office for use within the sheriff's department?
Sure, and sometimes we do that, but in this particular incident, I don't know that we would be interested in that particular weapon. It was what in the best shape. But yeah, to answer your question, that's definitely an option that you can do in court, is that, tell the judge that that is a piece of equipment that our department uses, we're familiar with, and ask that it be issued to the sheriff's office to use for duty purposes.
He'd rather see it with y'all than out here on these streets.
I agree.
So the SBI will be able to tell you if this crystal meth is coming from the super labs in Mexico, you think? Or
I don't know that what we've sent to them is just to get them to identify the substance itself. You know, they'll come back with a report of, you know, the strength and what it is, and just to confirm what our field is sure.
Now, you got to be commended on the job you did on that.
Well, thank you
No
very
question
much.
about it.
Thank you very much.
I'll have to share a story. I saw Sheriff Carter, this was a while back, and I said, I can't wait to open the Sanford paper every morning to see who you're busting now. And he said, we're just getting started.
That's right.
I like that.
All right.
Thank you
a
very
lot.
much.
Thank you,
Okay.
Chief.
Moving on to item C, under new business recommendations from the planning board, Althea Thompson.
Good
Hey, Althea.
afternoon, Chairman Brown, Board of Commissioners. On July 23rd, we held 2 public hearings with the Planning Board to consider 2 applications submitted by Mr. Albert Adcock. One was to rezone properties at 2910 and 2914 Hawkins Avenue from residential restricted district to highway commercial district. At the public hearing, Mr. Adcock spoke in favor of this application and no one appeared in opposition. The planning board, by unanimous vote, recommends that the governing board approve this application as submitted.
Okay, what's your pleasure? Move to approve. Motion been made. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Vote is unanimous.
The second application submitted by Mr. Adcock was on behalf of Grace Christian Church to rezone their property from residential agricultural to highway commercial district. And again, that public hearing was held on July 23rd. No one appeared in opposition. Mr. Adcock spoke in favor on behalf of the church, and the planning board again recommends by unanimous vote, recommends that the governing board approve this application.
Move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
Motion been made to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. So ordered, vote unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on now to item D. No, we approved that in our consent agenda. We move it to item E, consider meeting date for September 2007. We have them now. Actually, we have a problem as far as Labor Day is concerned with our first meeting in September. The recommendation is, can be made to only have one meeting in the month of September, and that date would be on the 10th. The 10th at 3 p.m. and public hearings, if we have public hearings scheduled, will be at 7 p.m. Been moved that this arrangement be approved, one meeting in September, and that's September 10th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
If opposed, say no. So ordered. The vote is unanimous. County Manager's report. Mr. Crumpton.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Lisa Price is here to introduce the interns so that they can do an update. I think they're required to do this, so this is part of their graduation of being interns.
I wouldn't say that I've run into them several times during the course of the summer. They have been out working.
They have been busy. As Mr. Crumpton said, this is part of their requirement to do an update to the board. And we have with us Doris Clark and Rachel Stone. They will each give a short presentation on what they've been through this summer. They've got about a week and a half so left in continuing some work with the city and the county. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Miss Doris.
Good afternoon. I appreciate all your support this summer.
It's been wonderful for Rachel and I to be able to do this, and it's something I think very unique, and I probably will never get to do something like it again. At the beginning of the summer, we spent a full week with the health department, and for me that was great because I want to study medicine, so I was able to shadow the nurses. We went to the dental clinic, which was very nice. We went with the medical records and helped them catch up on some filing, which was fun. We even did a septic tank inspection. We tested some soil, and that was new. I helped with the inspection of Central Carolina Hospital, and Rachel, I think, did a restaurant inspection, so that was fun. I spent a day with animal control. I learned that when you need to remove an animal from the road, to not call the animal control, but to call DOT instead. And also met with WIC and learned about all the services they offer. And that was really interesting. And we met with finance, and we met with Mr. Haynes, and that was fun. Then I went back to Parks and Rec. I used to work as a lifeguard, so that was a little familiar for me. But this time I got to do some different things. I went to Happy Day Camp, which is for some disabled adults at Stanley Park, and helped with them. And we went to social services. I learned more about food stamps, child services, child support, and Work First. And I realized how much they offer that a lot of people, I think, don't appreciate. And I myself probably didn't appreciate as much until I was able to see that. One of the projects we were given was at General Services with Mr. Cherry, and we were put on in charge of making a recycling guidebook. And Rachel has a copy of it, and if you don't mind, have permission to pass that around for y'all to look at. It entails a list of organizations and different categories of what certain organizations will accept and will not accept. So like books, appliances that are still in real good condition, so that reduce the amount of waste and solid waste that we have. And that's kind of the first copy. We haven't got it all finished, but that was really fun because we were able to stay there for a week and actually experience what it was like to stay in office for a longer amount of time than just a day. I think we really enjoyed that. We also went to the landfill, and they have a new service there. They have a building with, they sort through some of the things that people bring in, and if they're still really good and can be used again, they put them under there and anybody can come and take that. And I thought that was a good service that I never heard about. We worked with economic development, and that for me was one of the most interesting things. And we even got to attend one of the BRAC meetings with Lisa and Mr. Pascal. We went up to Fort Bragg, and we got to watch how all the regions work together on a larger project. And I like the opportunity that even though I'm in high school, I was able to see that happen. I think that's one of the most valuable lessons that I've learned, that so much goes on just beyond this building that impact Lee County. And we're not done yet. We still plan on going to the library, the sheriff's department, enrichment center, and emergency management. And hope that next year that 2 more members of our youth council, it's our inaugural year, so I hope 2 more members next year will be given the same opportunity. I think it's wonderful for anybody to be able to do it. Even if they're not interested in government, I think once they realize how much it entails, how broad a spectrum it is, I think they'll learn to appreciate it as I have. Thank you for this opportunity. I turn the time over to Rachel.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the board. Thank you for accepting me into such an enjoyable place to work. We've all heard the saying, there's a first time for everything. Your first steps, your first day of school, your first road trip, and for me, this internship has given me many more firsts. In June, on my first day as an intern, I witnessed my first wedding at the magistrate's office. In July, I had my first real experience with the public, and that was in the health department. And overall, it has been my first summer to have to get up at 7 o'clock every morning to be at work. Welcome to the real world. A few of the major projects we've done this summer are working with General Services, doing the recycling reuse guidebook you've got, and parking surveys with downtown Sanford. And we measured houses with the tax office for tax appraisals. And we also, the way our schedule's been set up, we get a certain, sometimes we get to spend like a week with some places, like public health and general services, we spend a week with. Other days it was only a few days or an hour or two. And so it varied. But we were with GIS and helped them with reviewing aerial footage. But the building inspectors and restaurant inspectors was really interesting for me. I got to see just what they look for and how long it takes and the behind the scenes kind of look. I did the dairy bar. They made an A. But we also helped with Parks and Recreation. It was neat to see the odds and ends that we had to tie up and took inventory and helped them with football equipment. Miss Lisa stole us away from General Services one morning for a BRAC meeting. And for me, it took me about 30 minutes to really start to understand what they were saying and what was going on. But after that, it got very interesting. We spent a morning with IT upstairs and really got to see all the precautions that are taken to secure the county data and information and all the backups and hard drives and the new updates that they're doing. And it's a lot of work. We went to a few Economic Development Committee and Joint Planning Committee meetings, and those things are addicting to me. I absolutely love them, and so I love the whole planning aspect of the government. I got to spend a few days with county finances, and on the first day, I entered invoices into the computer, and a couple days later, I was stuffing envelopes with checks and sending them out. And I really enjoyed how Ms. Minter set that up to where I was able to go and start and finish and see the impact it had and what I participated in. It was very nice. Today I'm finishing up helping with the County Human Resources Department, and I'm helping them see, and I got to see where all the employees come and where everything starts off with. I've been putting together orientation packets and creating files and folders, and they're nice people, they're just really enjoyable, and this whole internship, this whole summer has been enjoyable, and we only have a week and a half left. It kind of stinks, but it'll be okay. And this summer, like I said, has been filled with so many memories and educational experiences, and I just want to thank you again for giving me the chance to do this summer. Thank you.
Doris and Rachel, if we get two more next summer, they will not outdo you two.
Of course.
Because you have been outstanding.
Thank you.
And both of those reports were outstanding reports. Yeah, thank you. I'll give you an A.
Thank you.
Okay?
I'll have to say, everywhere I went for, I don't know, it's about a 2-week period, I turned around and they were like,
That's
right
it.
there. But it was just amazing.
I've seen them all over.
It was,
I bumped
they were
into them
everywhere.
again today.
Yeah, they were everywhere. I think y'all, it's a good thing what you did. I think you really got a good understanding of the county government as a whole, and I think Lisa for setting up the program. I think that's a very valuable program for kids to see what really goes on and have vested interest in our community.
Will you be able to give this presentation in school when you return, or do you have any idea? If not, Lisa, you ought to check into having them do that.
Really?
Really an outstanding job.
That pamphlet is great. You've done a good job.
This is really something right here. I mean, I agree with Mr. Reeves. That ought to be followed up, because the presentation done here today would magnify to help somebody else want to try this next year. I think it would really help.
Fill out 2 applications before you leave.
Please, take the board.
Stay in touch.
Thank you. Thank you. Sounds like this might be a good cross-training program for employees, or maybe county commissioners like me. I'm not sure I know what all of these different departments do.
We can set it up.
All it takes is time, right?
That's exactly right.
We appreciate, and I too, Lisa, thank you for overseeing and trying to keep up with these two girls.
You're welcome. They've done a great job. They really have.
Well, I know, not only were they out during the daytime, but I ran into them National Night Out last week. Hey, Mr. Crumpton.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I have a short report. There's been a lot of discussion on the effects of the state budget and the Medicaid relief. Yes, sir.
What do you guys plan to do with your booklet?
It's gonna be published. Mr. Cherry's gotta get a grant and he's gonna publish it and it's gonna be sent out to different areas where people can pick it up and use it.
That's really nice.
We've even added some more businesses on there since then.
You guys done a great job.
It's a very good value add for somebody that came in. I probably didn't really expect to do that much, but that's impressive. It really is.
I'm sure Joe would love to have you back again next year. So you do more for him. Mr. Chairman, there's been a lot of discussion about the Medicaid relief and the effect on our budget. And after reading through everything and getting a bunch of different numbers, we finally feel comfortable that in the 07-08 budget, assuming that Medicaid expenditures run as estimated this year, that the county should be to the good of $192,000. One of the things that was brought out in managers meeting this past week is we're still paying for a share. And if whatever the increase was that we budgeted, if those amounts go over that, we'll be paying a portion of those increases. You really can't go to the bank and cash this $192,000 yet. You know, the year's got to run out and see how the expenditures run. But if the state wouldn't have guaranteed everybody a $500,000 savings, some counties would have actually lost money in the swap this year. So that's why there was that guarantee. And then going forward, our projections, if you're taking a look at the effects of the current budget, because we're not projecting out and saying, okay, here we go, we're going to have all these savings. Now they do save us money in future costs, but in today's dollars, we're really about break even. So we're giving up revenue to give up the expenditures, and for us, it's a break-even proposition. We're not one of the counties that's going to have a big windfall out of this. The one thing we do give up is we give up a 12 to 14% increase in expenditure every year in exchange for a revenue that was growing at about 5%. So it's hard to say that we're going to have all these dollars saved and all these extra dollars to spend, because we're really not, if that makes any sense. In today's budget, we're going to be break even going forward is our projection.
Won't we have to continue watching what the state and federal do with Medicaid, because if they drop more people off, they actually wind up being more to the county as opposed to the state. So even that saving will be taxed one way or another.
That's correct.
So it's not over just because they give them some.
Yeah, there's some loopholes that,
Oh, yeah. You still have to watch
that,
it.
and they're all in the state's favor.
Yeah, they didn't make a bad deal for themselves. On this guy. The second issue I had concerned the local option sales tax. There's been a lot written and a lot discussed, and I just wanted to make sure that if anybody missed it, what the two taxes were and what the benefits would be to the county, and just put a little blip in there about that. And there's going to be a lot of discussion on that, I'm sure, over the next 30 days or so. And then I wanted to give an update on my first 5 weeks, actually. Last week was my 5th week here, and I have already been to all 24 departments, been back to several of them a couple times. I toured all the parks on Friday. In Shores, yes. May not, never lived that one down, but it was 102 degrees out there on Friday. I'm sorry. But I was in shorts, and I made sure Mr. Payne was in shorts too before I left, so I wasn't by myself. But I was very impressed with the parks that we have and the quality of life that offerings that it has for our citizens. And I've met with a lot of the outside agencies already, kind of ahead of the schedule that I gave you all, and I'm tired I would say after the first 5 weeks. There have been a lot of meetings. I've spent a lot of time out of the office. I don't think the staff's been used to not being able to walk down to the manager's office and not finding the manager there. But they eventually catch up with me somehow. Like I've said, the work of the county doesn't occur in this building. I think she just said that. So it's you know, when you're young like that and you can see that, and it doesn't take a scientist to figure that out. So a lot of good things going on in the county, and obviously we've got a lot of opportunities ahead of us to go through. Just so you know that if there was if we did try to get in a hurry, which I'm not sure is a great thing to do, and we were trying to put a referendum on the ballot in November, it would cost the county additional $12,580 to hold a referendum, because the Board of Elections were not going to open all the precincts, and to open the additional precincts would cost us that amount. The last issue I have, or the last item I have, is the Kettner Employee Productivity Award that went to our customer service folks. There was a question last month about how we got the award and who were the folks involved, and Cantina Lucas was really the person behind the application and getting the award, and the team is made up of Tammy Carter, Melanie Rogers, Kathy Backlund, and Kristen Sasser. So they'll be going this week, Friday morning, and they'll be splitting a $1,000 cash award. So congratulations to them, and I look forward to seeing them on Friday morning over there, so I can say those are my folks, even though I had nothing to do with it. That's my report, Mr. Chairman.
We'll be with you. I might be wrong, but I believe this is the first time that one of the counties won the Kettner Award
No, sir.
that I know about.
Todd Edwards.
Scott Evans, yeah.
Todd Edwards. Todd Edwards, our former
Oh,
youth
okay.
services director.
All right. That's several years ago.
Well, it's good to see it happening again. I'd like to see more.
That's it for me. Short report.
Having been traveling last week, and I wound up down in Scotland County, and I was planning to use the phone. And I saw this, office of the manager, John Crumley. And the lady looked at me and said, "Where you from? Aren't you from?" I said, "Raleigh." I thought you looked like you from the county. You know, they got our manager. I said, "Well, that kid just smooth." Thank you, and I'll get a paper on it.
All right, commissioners' comments, Mr. Pascal?
No, sir, I don't have.
Ms. Shook?
I just want to say, John, good job. When I read this, I love to see, those bridges being built up front with all those groups, so good job.
Thank you.
And Mr. Smith, I believe you got an item that
Yes,
we
Mr.
talked about.
Mr. Chairman, I do have two issues. I attended the Board of Education meeting, and as the member of the Board of Health, I have a couple issues I want to present to the commission. First item is the Lee County Board of Education meeting. As everyone saw in the newspaper, the ABC school scores improved over last year, and they're to be commended. Second item on the highlights is the Plaza Humanitaria at Central Carolina Community College. This would provide Spanish language literacy skills to Mexican citizens living in Lee County. Will cost the county approximately $15,000 for security and custodial services. And it's a distance learning program provided by the Mexican government. And the last bullet there was a question was asked of the board, is this open to illegal aliens? And the response was, we can't ask their status. So I thought you'd like to know about that. Third item is Floyd Knight School construction. There was probably some of you had of the brickwork that had to be re-torn down after it was installed. And we've been assured at the meeting that in no way was the taxpayers to pay for the rebuilding of that wall. The contractor will absorb that cost. And the Board of Education resolution, as we saw in the newspaper, where they're asking the county commissioners to raise the local sales tax and that the monies be earmarked for the improvements of Lee County High School and as well as construction of a new elementary school. Now that's the report from the Board of Education. The other item is from the Board of Health meeting. This is interesting in a couple of regards. First off, we had Dr. Keith Henderson present to us the regional surveillance team. We are part of Region 3. The teams are responsible for a regional area and not county specific, and some of us have got to let loose of our county entity. He's going to be prepared to give a tabletop training exercise to include the Board of Health and the county commissioners in the future. So it's one of those exercises that will be most provoking as far as finding out what's going on in case of various emergencies that we will have to endeavor. The chairman of the health board recommended that we schedule that exercise into the future. The pan flu plan for a pan epidemic that was presented by Linda Henderson she's our deputy director of clinical services. Reported that the Wyeth Pharmaceuticals at the last minute backed out of supporting our pandemic flu plan. Wyeth Pharmaceuticals facility would have been the local receiving site for the emergency vaccine package from the state and federal government. Wyeth's facilities met all of the stringent requirements of the state and federal criteria to receive, store, and secure the emergency vaccine package. Wyeth officials at the local level were receptive and very supportive of our pan-epidemic flu plan. The corporate headquarters turned us down at the last minute and attached our email correspondence for your review. I would suggest that we may consider recommending that the Board of Commissioners send a letter of concern to corporate headquarters of Wyeth Pharmaceuticals, expressing our regret for their inability to support a potential health and biological disaster.
They give reasons why?
The reasons are in the email, which they were concerned about contaminating their facility. As I understand, according to Ms. Henderson, the package comes on a 6x6 pallet. The containers are sealed and secure, and it was just a receiving point for the emergency vaccines. But they were afraid of contamination.
But the local people were okay with it.
Oh, they were, she said they were exceptionally helpful.
How much money we giving them in incentives? Over the years?
$2. The recommendation's been made by Mr. Smith to allow the chairman to draft a letter to Wyeth expressing our concern that they're not able to do what we had hoped they would do for us. Your motion that we do that.
One quick question, Mr. Chairman. On this, receiving that, does that just mean that they would receive it, or would they have to store it, or would they have to have somewhere else to store it?
It was under the auspices of receiving it, securing it, and holding it, to the temperature control and all the other requirements necessary.
Until such time that it would be needed.
We didn't cover the distribution of the vaccines. This isn't a real world emergency, a pandemic. This is serious stuff.
Do you think we're getting into some new ground here, and some that we probably have no reason engage. This is not, this is a private company. We don't have any obligation to do this for us.
I don't know what the initial contact
Well,
with
I'm not
them.
voting for it, I can say that.
Well, we don't have a motion.
I don't understand, how did this come about?
During the Board of Health meeting,
Do we not have the facilities to hold this?
no, we don't.
We don't.
Not yet. At the last minute, apparently the report that she was putting together for the state, the plan that is, was at the last minute. The details were going as if Wyeth was accepting the emergency package. At the last minute, they turned us down, and they're right now jumping through the hoops to try to meet the due dates that the state imposed upon us for our emergency plan.
So we will have to provide this regardless of whether they do or not?
Correct.
An estimate on what it would cost for that?
There was no monies discussed on the estimates. It was just a memorandum of understanding with a company that could support, again, the climate control, the security, and the facilities that met the strict standards of the state and federal government to receive this emergency package of vaccines.
What are those counties that happen not to have a facility like Wyatt? What are they doing?
That I didn't.
Okay, so obviously the state has to have some alternative for a situation that doesn't provide that kind of accommodation, I would think. So until we look into that, I'm not gonna participate in anything like this.
I think there's a lot, that we got to have in front of us for it. I think we can really make a decision, but I don't see enough here right now to make a justified decision.
I mean, can we get like some more information on this?
There's a state program already in place through emergency management that will help you get through this operation. But you first must engage them and see what other alternatives are available.
I think it'd be appropriate to have the health department come and discuss it at the September 10th meeting. And that way, I'll give them some more information, or get some more information from them and.
Come into this board?
Yes.
For what purpose?
To answer some of these questions that y'all are asking.
Why don't we let Mr. Crumpton talk with Mr. Kalis, who manages the local facility for White, find out the reasons why they.
Well, I have a meeting there on Wednesday already, so.
I don't know who made the initial contact, who engaged them anyway.
I'd rather, before we go, maybe potentially burning a bridge.
It's understandable. I mean, I'm not trying to.
He just telling you what happened.
Yeah. No. I'm just saying, before we go and make a decision to, give them a report, maybe let John talk to them and let's see what their reasoning is.
Where's Wise corporate headquarters? They're in Sweden, foreign country.
If I'm not mistaken, I understood her say New Jersey. I may be wrong. I may be wrong.
I think that's correct. That's their I think their national press release I got today was from somewhere in New Jersey.
Well, I mean, the corporate could do things that we don't, we may not be private to.
Well, I think it'd be important to know what all other alternatives that the health department's working on to, if there's any other candidates or if they have another plan.
I would be
before we send a letter, and then also talk to Wyatt.
I'd be concerned though that if this is our vaccine, we need to be able to get our hands on it and not have to go through another entity. I mean, what if Wyeth, is shut down and
Closed down tomorrow
Yeah.
and left town.
I mean, or anything. You never know what could happen. I mean, they could have a fire situation or something out there. You couldn't get the vaccine that we need, or I'd like to know what other counties.
If we ever cross that bridge, and hopefully we never do, you're talking about a flu pandemic that a lot of things are going to be strained to the breaking point, if not broken. So, I mean, a lot of what ifs there. It's just the issue that here we are, a corporate entity that we've helped, and we're asking for reciprocal treatment, and it creates an issue. It rankled my
Do you not agree that if it is a state and federal mandate, surely to goodness they know that not everyone has the same resources, so there must be an alternative somewhere.
I
So
understand.
let's first find out what the alternatives are before we start advancing a letter.
I understand.
We'll just allow the county manager to get additional information concerning this matter.
If I'm not mistaken, it was last year during the summer when emergency management put on a statewide pandemic flu event. There are alternatives available. We just have to find out what they are.
I wouldn't want somebody else
Well,
holding medication.
And it's broken down by regions, and I think we're in the
That's holding.
we're in the Fayetteville region on this planning thing. Thank you for the report. All right, Mr. Kelly, you have anything?
No, sir, I don't.
Mr. Lamont?
Well, I covered two of them during the meeting. The other one is the National Night Out. I know there was a lot of events. I know 29 or more, even with the 7 new ones. I did get around to 6 of them. And those were the Congregational Christian Church on McKeever Street, Carr Creek, Broadway, Beaver Creek, which is a new one, Center Church. Center Church had the biggest turnout. There was over 300 plus, that was 125 couples, plus additional folks, and that's not even counting kids that came out to that. It was well attended, and I got to say that the communities, Beaver Creek and Center Church, really had a large turnout for the event, and I think it's going to be even bigger next year, and I hope to see a lot more out. Thank you.
Well, this was the first year that the sheriff department had participated in it, and in the past, it's just been inside the city. Mr. Reeves?
I was gonna try and get Jerry to get one of those AK-47s. Messed that up, so I'm fine.
Let it go on.
So you gonna let it go on that, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna let it go. You can get one.
All right. Anything else from you, manager?
Yes, sir.
Or- Clerk, anything from you? We missed anything? I hear a motion that we adjourn.
No.
No public hearing.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. So ordered.
Fun to do? Fun starts in the parks. Lee County Parks and Recreation is your starting place for recreation and events, youth and adults alike. Call or log on to leecountync.gov. Lee County Parks and Recreation, committed today for a better tomorrow.
Lee County Office of Emergency Management strongly encourages you to begin preparing for the next disaster today. Stockpiling 3 days of prescription medications, non-perishable food, bottled water, and other essential items is the first step. Checking our website at www.readylee.org for more information is the next.